Presenting to you
the interactive space for critical and objective open thinking.
Floating in Space with MartianUFO. Produced by MartianUFO Media. The best podcast on air with your hearty host. Catch episodes weekly on Apple and Spotify podcasts.
Hello, everybody. You know who it is, and you know what we're doing here. We're floating, as always, as I am always doing, because it seems like there's a lot of tenseness, a lot of negativity and shit going around right now. So I'm just currently keeping to myself and floating and whatnot. But yeah, welcome to the show. It's MartianUFO, man. And today I just wanted to talk about Nick Cannon. A lot of people, might not be on this. Let me get some water here. So like I was saying, a lot of people might not be on this because Nick Cannon, I guess he's probably like he's a niche kind of culture icon. You know, he used to be pretty popular back in the day for being married to Mariah Carey and for certain things, being a rapper and actor. And nowadays it's that certain people follow him. But the news about Nick Cannon recently is that he has been canceled. And this is important because I was talking about cancellation recently and the cancellation of certain people and certain public figures, when you decide to go and speak about stuff or you say something, and just being careful about first who you're speaking about, what you're actually saying, who's listening to you, you know, who the audience is, all this kind of stuff that wraps around it. But Nick Cannon, you know, young black man in America, he has a platform, many platforms actually. You know, I think he had a show called Wildin' Out, or it might be a podcast. So he has a couple podcasts. So he does Wildin' Out, and then he does a Cannon's Class podcast, and that's the topic of issue, I guess, because he went up there on his podcast and he was interviewing what's his name? Who was he interviewing? Let me find this for you guys. Richard Griffin. Nick Cannon was interviewing Richard Griffin. I'm not sure if you guys know who that is, but anyways, they were talking about anti-Semitism. I think that's how you say it, and kind of touching on the Jews and things like this. And even I think I watched the episode, and in it, even he was saying, you know, like, I got to be careful. I gotta be watching what I'm saying, because now I'm gonna start talking about things that are speaking about certain topics and things like this. And basically, while he and Richard Griffin were speaking, he said that I'm going to find what he said for you, because this is going to be important. He was making the notion that it basically said that he was promoting anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about the Rothschilds, the Illuminatis, those types of groups, and he basically likened the Jews to these types of groups now. But let's say here, so on his show he praised the Nation of Islam leader Farrakhan and his ideology, which unfortunately in the States there's a group that recognizes them as a hate group based upon how aggressive they are with their ideologies and their movements, and just the fact that they are kind of a violent group. But anyways, you gotta understand, Nick Cannon, the fact that he was canceled, he was literally canceled. So he was, I guess, hired by, and his employer was ViacomCBS. And CBS is who ran his Cannon's Class podcast. They ran his Wildin' Out podcast. He had a new show that was supposed to come out recently, and the show is not coming out now. Something happened with the show. It got pushed back, which it seems like Viacom and really his whole network is against him now based upon what he said. But let me read what he actually said to you, and then you can decide for yourself. And once you hear this, it'll speak back again to the importance of, even if you think this way or you believe this as a black person or any colored type person, you got to be careful, and you got to understand how your words are going to be hitting people. I told somebody the other day that words are ammunition, and sometimes when we get in the heat of our emotions and we want to push a certain topic, that gets forgotten. But Nick Cannon says the people that don't have melanin, so he would be speaking about darker skinned people, black people probably, most likely, and then I guess the brown people and whatnot after that are, and he says, I'm going to say this carefully, a little less, Cannon said. When they didn't have the power of the sun, it started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear, they're acting out of low self-esteem, they're acting out of deficiency. He continued, so therefore the only way that they can act as evil, they have to rob, steal, rape, kill in order to survive. So then these people that didn't have what we have, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people, they had to be savages. They're acting as animals, so they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And I don't think that's the whole quote, but to explain it, here's the thing. That's saying a lot, right? When you hear that quote, certain people might be able to decipher it, and certain people might not be able to. So I'm gonna give it to you. Basically, he's saying, in simple speak, that black people or people who have more melanin, the darker skinned people, are actually the original Jews or Hebrews or this and that. He's saying that we are, and this is him, right? Saying that people with more melanin, people that are darker skinned, are linked to the original people, that people who did not have this, and when they were worshiping the sun. So I guess pagan religions and people that worship the sun, we speak about, I'll look into a different article here. So he claimed that with so much power, the Jewish community was turning into Illuminati, the Zionists, the Rothschilds. On the Nick Cannon podcast, he went on to add that African American people are Semitic people by definition, and that Semitic people are not white, meaning that we're of a different class, you could say. This is what he was trying to say. This is it's wild, man. It's wild. I guess it happened to, like, he didn't apologize right away. He said that he was promoting free speech, and he came out in like a rage, basically backlashing Viacom for canceling his show, because it happened the day after when they heard about this and what he said. They canceled him the day after, canceled his show. He was out, and then pushed back the release of his new show that was supposed to be coming out in the fall. Can't remember what the name was. But yeah, I mean, again, what he's saying is, and I mean, Nick Cannon, I've kind of studied a little bit. He's been studying this kind of stuff, I guess, studying the black and Jewish community, studying the original kind of culture. So he has a reason to kind of feel the way that he feels, or to interpret material the way that he's interpreting it. I'm not going to speak on that at all, or my opinion on it. I'm just going to say that, those are his comments, and he feels that, the black people, we as darker skinned melanin people, we can't be anti-Semitic, I guess, or I don't, and I'm going to have to look into more what anti-Semitism means. I guess if that means that you, I don't know, hate other, like, is that racism? Is it the same, or does it go a little bit deeper than that? I think anti-Semitism is like superiority of your race, basically, which is Yeah, it's you understand. These are pretty big comments. Um, and yeah, it said after he didn't apologize, he said, "I'm an advocate for people's voices to be heard openly, fairly, and candidly. In today's conversation about anti-racism and social justice, I think we all, including myself, must continue educating one another and embrace uncomfortable conversations. And it's the only way we will all get better. I encourage more healthy dialogue and welcome any experts, clergy, or spokespersons to any of my platforms to hold me accountable and correct me in any statement that I've made that has been projected as negative." And I mean, let's be honest, right? Here's the thing. Nobody really wants to hear that. Say that definitively it was written in stone that this was true, that there was a link between darker skinned melanin people and the original people that used to walk the earth. Because if you start studying this stuff and you study I'm gonna throw out some names, the Moors, the Anunnaki, these were original black persons that used to be around, these parts, North America and things like that, who were not slaves, and they had some type of power or royalty, you could say. So he's saying, the part about education and embracing uncomfortable conversations. Well, yes, that's true. But I think if this was true, I mean, nobody wants to hear that they're of less quality, of less superiority, that they're less because they don't have, this color skin, which from him, it's coming from a place of, you see what's happening right now. You see what's happening to our people, and I'm speaking to the black people, to, the people who are losing their lives, to the stuff that's happening to the South Sudanese women in Sudan, and a bunch of oppression and abuse going on everywhere just to black people, right? Because while everybody deserves to have their voice heard and all this kind of stuff, right now we're speaking about black people. Even if this was true, you got to be careful about how you say this. There's no, in the world that we live in, it's been constructed and created that there's space for everybody, right? From all races, all this kind of stuff, at least in North America, and that it kind of has to be that way in terms of fairness and all this kind of stuff. So of course, when he makes those kinds of comments and then looks like somebody who's actually backing that up and believes it, certain people that hired him and employed him who aren't black, the owners of Viacom, I'm going to say, it is what it is. They're white and they're of a different ethnicity and things like this. It's going to rub them a certain way. It's going to rub anybody a certain way, because even if it's the truth, even if this is how you feel, even if this is like what it is, you got to understand the platform that you're on, the fact that you can't really come out here and say all that. I don't know, man. It's a tough subject, right? He speaks about uncomfortable conversations and about getting more educated. I think a lot of the listeners, if you guys are listening to this right now, I don't know if this is stuff that you really want to even go educate yourself into. It might help you, might help everybody, right? Might help everybody come together and to find that common place, common ground. That's a lot of us don't really think we're gonna get to. The people that I speak to about big world ideologies and whether the races will really be able to come together, it doesn't seem likely right now. It doesn't seem like very good odds. The end of racism completely, or the end of people just not really liking each other or being only about their race and things like this. It might be maybe a couple of civilizations down the road, a couple hundred or thousands of years, but it'll take some time, definitely. That's it's tough. But yeah, everybody wants to say, they're anti-racist, they're not racist, and we all care about social justice and this and that. But I mean, the truth is that most of us, right, we're just going about our daily lives. We don't really read about this shit. We don't really care. But as soon as somebody tells us or tells you or whatever, whoever you are, that you don't care, that you don't care about this, it's suddenly now you're the person that's, like I said before, the loudest talker in the room. Your ego, your sense of self has been hurt and all this kind of stuff. And God damn, man. I have to remember to keep the do not disturb on for this, because receive calls and texts and all this kind of shit, and it just gets me out of my fucking zone. Fuck. Anyways, Nick Cannon, I was talking about the idea that I guess people who attain power, people who have influence, all this kind of stuff, I mean, it really does require a certain kind of mind or a certain kind of patience or willingness with yourself to go on to study this material, to have these uncomfortable conversations, to embrace them, and to understand that, I was listening to something, and I've been reading this book. It's 48 Laws of Power, and you guys can go check it out if you want. It's by Robert Greene. And this is the thing too, right? When you tell people about the fact that you're doing this or doing that, or yeah, I'm reading these books or anything, people might listen to you, but they don't. I mean, they either don't really think you're doing it, or they just, I mean, the timing issue. Everybody's got different schedules or different things that matters to them. But in this book, it talks about the issue that if everybody were to treat everyone the same, and in terms of like all fairness and all this kind of stuff, unfortunately, people would come to the realization that there are certain people who, I guess for lack of a better phrase, like do have better skills or higher qualities, or maybe better physical traits, or some are better with the mind and things like this than others, right? And it said that in the end that the result is you'll have people essentially with lesser skills being pushed up into higher positions, and then you have the people with gifts and whatnot being ignored, not really being sought out or found out for whatever reason. And yeah, man, I don't know. I think for me personally, I think it's unfortunate that Nick Cannon got canceled. I think to be able to speak openly about something and then to not really get the support of your network. And then here's another thing too about it, because what also happened, there's more backlash here when he went and put out the apology. So after the cancellation, after making the comments, after coming out and promoting free speech and things like this, and that he basically wasn't going to apologize, he did after come out and put out an apology on his Twitter. And then he said that black people were getting mad at him now, that black people came back and started backlash on him because well, you can understand, right? If a guy was saying pro-black to the extreme, if what these comments were, if somebody can interpret him that way, like saying that black people were the best, superior, and then after he comes out and says, oh man, my bad, apologies, it's gonna look a certain way to black people now. And then it's like, 1 second. Somebody told me not to do that shit. They said I was just gonna do my shit, do it. Anyways, it seems like he's kind of in a tight spot now, because if he felt that way the whole time, he should have looked ahead. He should have kind of seen the dangerous path that he was going to embark on, the grenades that might have been in his way, landmines, different ways that this might have backfired on him. Because right now, and cancel culture, and in 2020, sorry, cancel culture is huge. The promotion of free speech and all this kind of stuff is also huge. Being who you are, expressing yourself, standing by what you say, being firm with your ground and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, you can see that at the bigger level, they don't really support it the same way, because he obviously was canceled by his network. Had certain people come out, speak out against him. The Jewish community was mad about it. And then after he apologized, then the black people were angry and basically canceling him in their own right. Because now, what kind of way do you come out and try and promote your own people in a nice and respectful manner without offending anybody else? And I think that's the point. There's never not going to be anybody that's offended. Your words, like I said, are always going to have ammunition depending on who you're speaking to or who you're speaking about, who your audience is, where your speech is going. And I guess being comfortable with that, being comfortable with that attention, with that negativity from people, if you want to call it that. Me, certainly, I know that at a certain point I'm gonna have to deal with that being on this podcast and speaking about certain things. There's gonna be people that don't agree with me. That's why I want to bring on the guest soon at a certain time. But I've come, to the fact that I'm pretty comfortable with myself, that I'll talk about anything basically. I still understand the safety of the timing and approaching things in a certain way, but it is what it is. Like, I don't think anything really needs to be kept under the rug or behind closed doors. And in that sense, I do hope that, Nick Cannon comes back with the platform. I hope that people continue to support him, and that he, I guess, doesn't find himself having to lie or to say a certain thing or to not support what he actually believes, because, maybe he has to sell out again to get on a big platform, maybe, whatever it is. But yeah, the point is, be careful what you say, be careful how you say it. But if you believe something, say what you say and then be comfortable with it, and understand that people aren't going to agree with you. They might come after you, and fuck it if they do, because it's just life, man. Like, yeah, keep floating. One last thing. So I just read another news source, another article. I was kind of looking into if there was anything else that I could say about it, any kind of closing notes to round off. And I found something interesting here, that the, this is again for the Black people, and to really pay attention and take notice to what this really means. Because listen to this. This is a comment by Charlemagne the God. He is a radio host of what's his show? The Breakfast Club. He runs the Breakfast Club, runs on Wednesdays. Anyways, what he said, quote, "Listen, Nick is my guy. I hate it had to be him, but that's what you can do when you have the power. And if there's one thing Jewish people have showed us, it's that they have the power." End quote. And because these comments that he made are super important, because he's not wrong. He is definitely correct in the fact that the Jewish community, they hold what words do I want to use? Insurmountable influence. They have extreme power, in terms of political, financial, legal areas. And so again, so you see what happened to Nick Cannon in just a day. He was fired from his show. He only got to keep one job. I think he still runs as the host for the Masked Singer on MTV or something like that. But besides that, all of his other networks have been canceled. His platforms have been, I guess, abandoned for the moment. And you could reasonably say that because he made these comments about the Jewish community in itself, this is what happened to him, and this is the power that they have to take him down after having a 10-year contract with ViacomCBS. That's not, certainly small. He's been doing this for a long time. He's known them. He has a relationship with them, and they dropped him after a day. Cancel culture, power. And so, speaking to the Black people, the Black community as a whole, I guess, it's not really certainly more about, like, if you want power, if you want to have a voice, and to be able to do certain things, I guess in the sense of this case, imagine it was flipped. Imagine it was the Jews saying something about the Black community and in a way that we were just so offended and whatever. It's not the certain kind of power that we have yet that we can go and fire people. So, because he says again, quote, this is Charlemagne the God. He says, "I can't wait until the day Black people are able to fire people for saying things about us that we deem racist. We can barely get cops fired for actually killing us." And this is also true. It's a fucking battle. It's like every time a cop shoots a Black person, fucking, what word am I trying to use? It's a paid leave, basically paid leave. And now only in 2020 where it's that we're going after cops, and it's still a fight. We have to go get, rounds of social media and people just to get these cops to lose their jobs. And then after that, we want them to be tried and to go to jail for their crimes, basically. What he's saying and what I'm going to say to the black people is that if we want this kind of power, if you want this kind of power, it's not so much about how we use our voice, getting out and rioting and showing people how loud and tough and maybe scary you are and all this kind of stuff. More so about using your mind, using the brain, getting into these positions of legal, of financial, studying certain things that later on in life, if it's not us, it's our children, the next couple of generations, we can start to build something that looks kind of like an influential force that the Jewish community has, and just being able to protect ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to be real about it, I don't really think anybody fucks with the Jews. So let's keep it at that and have a good day.